what we would do is 20 more repetitions. So we're going into coronal abduction, wrist extension, and then maintain those positions and do 20 repetitions of elbow extension. And while we are resting, we are going to continue with our nerve gliding exercise demonstration. And now we are going to be focusing on an exercise to help release tension in the median nerve. A few days ago, I showed you guys how to perform the upper limb tension test. And upper limb tension test number 1 was to diagnose any type of tension in the median nerve. And right now, we are going to be doing a modified version of upper limb tension test number 1 and turning it into an exercise. This is the simplified version that I showed you a few days ago. So we have the full out version of upper limb tension test number 1, and this one is a little bit more simple. What you would do is get into a supine position, and there are 3 parts to the exercise, or 3 main parts. What we would want to do first is we want to flex the elbow. We're going to go into supination, and we want to touch our fingertips toward our anterior deltoid. What we would want to do is gradually build tension on the nerve. So the first thing that we're going to do is, in this position, we are going to go into coronal abduction, abduction away from the midline 3 times. We're going to do 3 to 5 repetitions. And then what you want to do is ask yourself, are my symptoms getting better, worse, or staying the same? If your symptoms are getting worse or staying the same, stop immediately. There's no need to continue. We don't want to exacerbate your symptoms. However, if your symptoms are getting better, we would go ahead and perform 20 repetitions. Let's say you end up doing the abduction and you don't notice a reproduction of your symptoms. What we would do in that case is we want to build more tension on the nerve. So we would go ahead, go into abduction, and then we want to maintain that coronal abduction and add wrist extension. Do 3 to 5 repetitions of wrist extension, and then ask yourself, are my symptoms getting better, worse, or staying the same? If your symptoms are getting worse or staying the same, immediately stop. No need to continue. We don't want to exacerbate your symptoms. However, if your symptoms have gotten better, then we would perform 20 repetitions. So we're going to go into abduction. We're going to maintain the abduction, and then do 20 repetitions of wrist extension and flexion. Let's say you do coronal abduction, you don't notice a reproduction of your symptoms. You do wrist extension, you don't notice a reproduction of your symptoms. Now, we're going to build tension by going into elbow extension. You're going to do 3 to 5 repetitions. Ask yourself, are my symptoms getting better, worse, or staying the same? If your symptoms are getting worse or staying the same, stop immediately. No need to continue. We don't want to exacerbate your symptoms. If they are getting better, what we would do is 20 more repetitions. So we're going into coronal abduction, wrist extension, and then maintain those positions and do 20 repetitions of elbow extension. And that is how we can take the simplified version of the upper limb tension test number 1 and turn it into a nerve gliding exercise. So if you are experiencing any type of radiating along the arm or any type of tingling in your first 3 fingers, go ahead, perform this exercise, and then during the next rest period, we're going to get into the radial nerve. But for right now, our rest period is up. It is time for set number 5. That was just a tiny taste of what can be found in my members only section. If you enjoyed it, become a member for only $5 a month to get access to hundreds of member only videos.